Hello everyone, and welcome to Devlog number 15. My name is Simon, and I'm the game director at Far North Entertainment. It's been about 8 months since last devlog, and of course that's not good, and I excuse the delay because in that devlog I did promise that the devlogs would come more frequently, not the other way around. Basically what happened though is that the first months since that devlog we didn't do much on the game because everyone was working on consultant business in order to bring in money to the project. And since December, it's been 2 of us that have been working on the game. It's me and Richard. But we've also had some interns, 2 graphic artists and 2 programmers who have helped us for the past 4 months. So we're working from home now. The coronavirus has made it a bit more tricky to do it at office. But we have been keeping a steady pace since January at least. And this devlog will basically be about what we have done the past 4 or 5 months. And usually when I make these devlogs, I will write a script and I will record a voice line. I will gather materials like footage and stuff from the other people who work at Far North, and I will try to make a polished edited version of the devlog, but I simply don't have time for that right now, so the format of the devlog will be more like this. I will just start whatever build is currently running in my project, and I will show you what we're working on at this very moment. And hopefully it will work out okay. Yeah, so let's just get into it. So the first thing we have done is to add localization to the game, which you can see here already in the start menu screen, which is also completely redesigned with this 3D scene in the background, and also the buttons up here. So I'm gonna switch this to oh, it was on English, okay. We also have a new loading screen, so instead of freezing the game for 10 seconds when the game scene starts, we actually load stuff now before we actually start the game. Okay, so immediately you can see that the look of the game has changed a lot. We have switched to the high definition render pipeline, which is not exactly obvious at this very moment, but it will look much better once we have spent more time actually configuring it 100%. You can also see a lot of new UI elements. We have the chat here at the bottom left, and we also have the action bar, which has 3 spots. One for the excavator, which is the tool you use in order to break down trees and rocks in order to gather materials, and also 2 slots for 2 different weapons, which you can equip in your inventory. We also have the health bar, which has the health, the shield, and the fuel of your excavator. So we can start with the chat. The chat is like most chats in multiplayer games. You just press enter, and then you can either write a message or use one of all of the commands which we have added to the game. And this is for debugging purposes, as well as it is for administrators hosting servers later to be able to do stuff with the players, for example, teleporting players to different places, giving people items, etc. And you can see a list of all, or a subset of all the commands that we have right now in the chat. So we have, for example, ban. We have, you can make people administrators, you can give people items, etc. You can kill people if you're nasty. We've also been working a lot on the UI. So basically all the UI we've shown before has been very placeholder, proof of concept kind of things, and right now we have at least what is functionally a final version. So the inventory, as you can see here, I filled it with rocks because I was testing some stuff earlier. Okay. So the equipment system looks like this now. We have 2 slots for weapons. We have a waist slot, we have a torso slot, hands, feet, legs, back, and a helmet or cap or something like that. We also have some slots for consumables, which will basically hold grenades, potions, and other stuff that you can equip and use using the action bar. The final part of the inventory UI at this point is the fuel UI, where you refuel your excavator once it runs out of fuel. So I will just give myself a gun here. and it's a bit bugged now, so I have to pick up a stone before it appears in the client. Okay. Another thing that we've added is projectiles. So before we just made raycasts to the enemies and they hit immediately once you shot, and right now we have so that projectiles actually fly through the air. I'm not sure if you can see that on stream, but there is the projectile, of course, and then there's a red dot ghosting beneath it, and the red dot is basically the server representation, so this is for debug purposes. So the server runs at 5 ticks per second, and you can see here the red dot follows approximately where the client projectile runs. Then we have the excavator. So let's bring up the inventory again. Right now I need some logs because I'm gonna build a campfire, so I can just equip my excavator and I can start shooting down trees. And you can see above the chat that we have added a notification box functionality so that we can send messages from the server to the player whenever the player interacts with stuff and do things. The new building UI looks like this. We will have a list of categories, which then will have a list of sub-buildings per category. So I will just build a campfire, and this is really bugged right now, as you can see here. We get this extremely trippy green stuff going on. Okay. And basically the campfire works as a refining station. So right now we can only make coal by placing fuel down here and adding logs here, and it will process these logs and produce charcoal. We also have added functionality for crops, if I can find one of these bushes up here. Yeah. So basically I can just go up to the bush when it has berries, and I can press E and I will pick up those berries. So there's a lot of those kind of things going on as well. The stone right now is just for debugging purposes, also equipable on your hands. So basically you can have a stone as your fists if you feel like it. We also see this UI up here. Basically we are working on a system where you will build rooms, and rooms will have different attributes to them. So for example, temperature. If you need to grow a certain kind of crop, you will have to design a room which meets that crop's requirements in temperature, humidity and stuff like that. It's still experimental, even on the game design part, but so is everything you see in the devlogs from now on. Everything will be subject to change pretty much, except for the very core bits of, for example, the chat and the inventory and stuff like that. Okay, so let's head into the XML and see what we have done in terms of modding support, which have been a big focus since December. Okay, so let's take a look at how we create content for the game right now. And this is the XML project, or the XML folder, where we have everything from UI icons for items, weapon configurations, all of the entities that you build, all of the entities that you find in the world like trees and rocks, etc. Everything is scriptable in these XML files. And the goal is for everything in the game to be moddable in this kind of manner. So let's have a look at what we can do so far. These files will be exposed, or are planned to be exposed to the players once they download our game in Steam, for example. You will have access to all of these files so that you can mod the game directly. So first of all we have the tiles, for example. You can see here that every entity in our game has a name def, and that's basically just a string identifier. It has to be unique for each single XML entry in the game. This is the grass tile, so we have a base color, a normal map, roughness, etc. We also have overlap priority. This is basically what layer it has when neighboring to other tiles. You can also script when the world is generated, what objects may appear on grass tiles. So here, for example, we see that we have grass and we have trees. That's basically what grass tiles can contain. If we go, for example, to the muddy dirt tile here, we can see that they have big iron rocks, they have small iron rocks, they have bushes, etc. This is another example of an XML entry, and this is the campfire we saw earlier. And this is basically all the data needed in order to define the campfire and all of its properties. The most important ones being the components. This is how much health it has. It determines how the campfire affects the environment of rooms when built in a room. So basically, if you build a room and you put 5 campfires in it, the room will overheat very quickly and be very polluted. So it will be a hostile environment for the players. We also have the refinement component, and basically the refinement component just contains what fuel, what kind of fuel it accepts and what recipes you can create with it. And the fuel and the recipes themselves are also XML entries. Just to show you quickly, this is the recipe we saw earlier with the charcoal. So here we can see that 2 wood logs will result in 1 charcoal, and it will take 15 ticks of time. And yeah, the icons and these are the messages that you will see. For example, this says log burning and this says create charcoal from logs, etc. So everything is highly modular. You can create pretty much anything you want here. Another good example of this modularity is this stone here that I showed you earlier. I wanted to try out the new equipment component, and I had no assets for clothing. So basically I just took a random stone item and I added the clothing component. And here you can see this is the hands. So if I change this to torso, for example, now it will, when I start the game next time, the stones will be equipable on the torso slot instead. And there are some stats to the clothing as well, like max health, armor, max shield, etc. And basically if I would want the wood log instead, or if I would want to have a stone as a torso item, and then I want the wood logs, for example, to be equipable on the head, I can just copy this. I can change this to head, and I can give it the stats I want it to have, for example, like this. And now I have a new item in the game that you can equip on your player character. This will also be coupled with meshes later, so whenever you equip one of these clothing components, you will actually see a 3D mesh difference on the player itself. Here is the gun we saw earlier, the rusty pistol, which I gave myself and fired. And it contains, of course, all of the data for the item itself, the weapon item. It has a height and a width in the inventory, for example, and sound references for what sounds it makes when you pick it up and lay it down, what icon it has in the UI, etc. And of course, what makes this a weapon and not just an item is that it has a weapon item component. And in this case, you can see here how fast you can fire it. This is the visual and sound effect that it plays when it shoots. It's not automatic, it has 12 shots per mag, etc. And then in the effect here, which it triggers whenever you shoot with it, we also have a projectile kind of data. So the projectiles are actually completely separate from the weapons themselves. So yeah, basically this is also highly modular. You can see here that the projectile has a lifetime of 1 second. It flies 30 tiles per second. It is a bit inaccurate, so all the bullets will not fly exactly in the direction that you aim. It has a bit of variance. We also have the visual effect of the projectile itself, and what effect it plays whenever it hits something. How much damage it does, what kind of damage it deals, etc. And all of these sound effects and visual effects are also part of the XML library. So for example, if I want to add a sound effect to the game, I will just put the sound in the XML folder, and then there are entries like these. So I just give it an identifier string, and then I have the path to the sound effect, and then I can use this sound effect wherever I want in the game. If it be when shooting a gun, when laying down an item in inventory, or wherever, pretty much. So yeah, I hope you found this update interesting, at least, even if it's not the kind of stuff we've made before. I hope that if you are interested in the game and you want future updates, you will consider following our YouTube channel and stay around for more info. And as I mentioned earlier, the devlogs will be more of this format going forward. There was a lot of stuff that I did not cover in this devlog that I forgot about, that will probably get up on our YouTube channel soon. And also I have been thinking about adding some kind of just walkthroughs on how you would actually add content to the game. Hopefully we'll get the enemies in soon as well. So yeah, see you around, bye.